of the rights we cherish, not turn our thoughts away. From the bright picture of a woman's mission, we claim to dwell in quiet and seclusion beneath the household roof from the great world's harsh strife and jarring voices to stand aloof, not in a dreamy and inane abstraction to sleep our life away, but gathering up the brightness of home sunshine to deck away. As humble plants by country hedgerows growing and yielding odors ere the days declining, the gift again. So let us, unobtrusive and unnoticed, but happy nonetheless, be privileged to fill the air around us with happiness, to live unknown beyond the cherished circle, which we can bless and aid, to die and not a heart that does not love us know where we are laid. Heartiest greetings, everyone. I am an empowered woman, Dr. Shelly Bisht, a passionate, dynamic, enthusiastic, creative change maker, a nation builder with more than 2 decades of experience with a zeal to foster holistic education and learning to children of senior secondary school, currently working as Deputy Center Superintendent of CBSE Board Examination 2021-22 at SJN New Delhi. I'm also a multi-awardee, international speaker, teacher's trainer, anchor, writer, and social activist. Ladies and gentlemen, I am here to talk on women's rights. Since Hillary Clinton proudly declared women's rights are human rights at the United Nations Fourth World Conference on Women. Since then, world leaders have recognized that the key to economic, social, and cultural development is rooted in the empowerment of women. More countries have understood that women's equality is a prerequisite for development. Everybody counts in applying democracy, and there will never be a true democracy until and unless we feel that every responsible and law abiding adult in it, without regard to race, sex, color, or creed, has his or her own inalienable and unpurchasable voice in government. It's not gender which is destroying a culture. It is our interpretations of culture which has destroyed gender equality. This is no simple reform. It really is a revolution. Sex and race, because they are easy and visible differences, have been the primary ways of organizing human beings into superior and inferior groups and into cheap labor in which the system still depends. We are talking about a society in which there will be no roles other than those chosen or those earned. We are really talking about humanism. Now, gender equality, which remains pervasive worldwide, tends to lower the productivity of labor and the efficiency of labor allocation in households and the economy, intensifying the unequal demands and distribution of resources. It also contributes to the non pervasive and non monetary aspects of poverty, lack of security, opportunity, and empowerment that lower the quality of life both of men and women, while women and girls bear the largest and most direct cost of these inequalities. The costs cut broadly across society, ultimately hindering development and poverty reduction. The education and empowerment of women throughout the world cannot fail to result in a more caring, tolerant, just, and peaceful life for all. So, no action can ever be worthy of its existence that cannot take its women along with the men. No struggle can ever succeed without women participating side by side with men. There are two powers in the world. One is the sword and other is the pen. There is a great competition and rivalry between the two. There is a third power stronger than both, and that is of the women. Women will not simply be mainstreamed into the polluted stream. Women are changing the stream, making it clean and green and safe for all, every gender, race, creed, sexual orientation, age, and ability. So, the connection between women's human rights, gender equality, socio-economic development, and peace is increasingly apparent. Women's chains have been forged by men and not by anatomy. So, well, ladies and gentlemen, If I describe the current scenario of women in India, there are few relevant indicators to know the status of the individual member of the society. Political participation, levels of education, state of health, etc., are some relevant indicators. However, not all members of a society, especially women, have equal access to the factors which constitute these indicators of status. Now, patriarchal norms restrict Indian women's education and employment choices, from the choice to acquire education to the entry into the workforce and to the nature of work. Let us understand where women, who constitute almost half of the country's citizenry, stand today in the fight for freedom, dignity, equality, and representation. Now, first point which I want to cover is gap in male-female literacy rate. The literacy rate of India is 77.70%, with literate males at 84.70% and literate females at 70.30%, according to the National Family Health Survey and National Statistical Office. NSO 2021 and 2022. Now, women appear to have a lower literacy rate than men, despite the government's effort to ensure equality of opportunity for education for both men and women in our society. The literacy rate of women in India, especially in the rural areas, still remains very poor. Schools in rural India are at considerable distances, and in absence of strong local law and order, women find it unsafe to travel long distances for schooling. Traditional practices like female infanticide, dowry, and early marriage have also contributed to the problem, as many families find it economical unviable to educate the girl child. Now, I would like to talk on role stereotyping. Still, a large section of our Indian society consider the roles of men as taking all the financial responsibilities and work outside. General role stereotyping attributed to women have generally led to prejudice and discrimination against women. For example, women may be considered to be less reliable as workers because of their child rearing functions. The third point is differentiation in the socialization process. In many parts of India, especially in rural regions, there are still different socialization norms for men and women. Women are expected to be soft spoken, calm, and quiet. They should walk, talk, sit, and behave in a certain manner. Whereas men ought to be confident, loud, and such stereotypes. Women are not able to express themselves and are generally kept inside the house, just like a prisoner behind the bars. The fourth is representation of women in legislature. The representation of women in different legislative bodies remains low across India. Now, according to the data of 2019 Lok Sabha election, the participation of women in the decision-making bodies is low. According to the Election Commission of India, only 724 women participated in the 2019 election, while 7,316 men candidates participated in the election. Now, this statistics is enough to show the real picture of women in India. According to a list compiled by the Interparliamentary Union in 2019, India ranks 153 out of 190 nations in the percentage of women in the lower house of world parliaments, and ranks 148 out of 193 countries in the number of elected female representatives in parliament. This raises the question, why are women not given 33% of reservation in decision making bodies? If women can be given this reservation in securing jobs, then why not in legislation? The fifth point I want to cover is safety concern in India. Despite continuous efforts in the field of safety, women are threatened by various acts via feticide, domestic violence, rape, trafficking, sexual harassment at workplace. Sometimes women are not treated well after their marriages by their husbands. There are many women in India who have faced domestic violence, marital rape, dowry, etc., even after their marriage. That's why women do not feel safe in their own country. Sixth is period poverty. A lack of access to sanitary products, menstrual education, hygiene, and sanitation facilities necessary to properly manage menstruation are not provided in India to women. According to United Nations Children's Emergency Fund study conducted in 2011, only 13% of the girls in India are aware of the menstruation before menarche. Seventh is glass ceiling. Glass ceiling refers to an unacknowledged barrier to advancement in profession, especially affecting women and members of minorities. Women, not only in India but across the globe, face a social barrier preventing women from being promoted to top jobs in management. Now, what are the problems faced by women in India? Women have traditionally fought for their rights and status in society. Still, they are fighting even after independence. If we talk about today's scenario, many women are still facing the issues like gender discrimination, sexual abuse and harassment, education, child marriage, and whatnot. Now, women are elevated to the position of goddesses in India. However, the difficulties they encounter merely show the inverse of this idea. On one hand, people worship them as goddesses, while on the other, they mistreat them mercilessly and think less of them. When it comes to gender inequality, many parents wish for a boy rather than a girl. Since in their so called mentality, boys will carry on with their generation. Even though it is against the law, they continue to try to determine a baby's gender. And if they find out that the baby is a girl, they will abort the pregnancy. We don't know why they don't see that they cannot pass on a generation without a girl. An infant can only be conceived by a woman. A generation cannot pass on without women. Men and women have equally responsibility for childbirth, yet neither can fulfill. So women are still facing this. What I feel, education of women is another issue in the country. Due to conservative traditionalism, women's standing has always been viewed as being lower in our nation than that of men. If a girl comes from a poor household with a brother, her parents will spend their money on his education rather than hers. Their alleged philosophy holds that teaching a girl is just wasting money on her. Both unnecessary because she will marry and will go on to somebody else's family. It hurts every woman when your parents tell you that you are someone else's responsibility. She feels pain and is internally torn apart. Thanks to the government of India, they are providing free education to children of poor families, and at least due to the free education policy, parents are allowing their girl child to study. Otherwise, they wouldn't have spent money on girl education. Now, when I talk about crimes against women in India, there are many and many cases which we can discuss. Okay. And many are in the news also. And it is a sorry sight to tell you that India is rated as the rape capital of the world. We can even discuss the Bilkis Bano case. We can even discuss the Hathras rape case. We can even discuss the few older cases. But this is a sorry side again, I'm telling you. Mahasma Amini case of Iran. But the big question is, what should women do? In India, getting justice is a long procedure, but we should not forget that justice is delayed, but justice is given. Now, a few will counter this statement by saying delay in justice is of no use. But in a few cases, we have observed women misusing their rights. So, to safeguard women in India, women have been given many rights, but a few of them use them and a bunch of them misuse them. Let's see what women can do if she encounters incidents of sexual assault, violence, rape threats, etc. The first thing which I want to focus is on recognized sexual harassment. Now, anything that makes you feel uncomfortable, humiliated, or intimidated is harassment. It is not what the other person intends, but what you feel that matters. If you feel harassed, you have the right to protest. Second important thing is say no loudly and firmly. Confront the perpetrator when you are being harassed. Third is be alert and confident. Remain calm and look straight into the eye of the people who threaten you. Speak with clarity and firmness to send a message that you are aware of yourself and that you have a right to where you are. Next is socialize and support. Isolation can make you feel vulnerable. Friends or acquaintances who could be supportive and accessible might go a long way in checking harassment. Also, always be ready to respond and support if anyone is being harassed in your presence. Next is report the incident. It is pertinent to make a formal complaint with police for action in case of sexual harassment. Sexual harassment is a crime and must not be ignored. It is a serious violation of human rights and must be reported to concerned authorities. Next, appreciate boys and men who respect you. Being dismissive and scornful of boys because of their background, dress, or language conveys your prejudices and negativity. Such behavior might be a cause of discrimination for you too. Next, please don't hesitate. You can ask for help. It is not your fault. It is likely that people will help if you approach them. Don't wait for them to come for your support. You can be proactive and reach out to them. Try not to be explicit about your fears. Do not look scared, nervous, unsure, or walk with your head bowed down on the road or in a public place. A determined and confident body language can at times act as a deterrent against harassment. Next, don't blame yourself for harassment. Harassment is an expression of power and masculinity by men over women. The way you dress or your attitude is not an invitation to harassment or any form of unsolicited behavior. Remember, helpline numbers. Remembering the helpline numbers can help you to safeguard yourself in any intense situation. Helpline numbers to remember are Central Social Welfare Board Police Helpline. Now, a very interesting question. What should men do? Avoid being macho. Vulgar display of muscle power or pompous masculine behavior is never appreciated by anyone. Boys often adopt a so called masculine attitude to gain acceptance and recognition amongst peers and to escape bullying. This kind of behavior is not appropriate. Try to reflect on your own action, words, being respectful and non threatening. Be aware of how you behave with women. Women dislike bullying, over friendliness, and persuasive intimacy. Speak and behave respectfully. Avoid using sexist language, slang, and swear words. You might want to practice ways of talking and behaving that are friendly and appropriate without being over friendly and threatening. Treat girls and women as equal. Turn to respect women as friends and colleagues. This means to give respect to them not because she's women, but because she is human. Be alert and ready to help. Be ready to help when asked or if you think your help is required. Often, your offer of help will be enough to deter the harasser. Yet, remember, not every girl is a helpless victim needing your protection. Women who dress daringly do not deserve harassment. What you wear is a reflection of your choice, neither attitude or behavior. So, men and women both have the right to dress as they want. You may not like what a girl is wearing, but that doesn't you have this the right to show that your anger or approval. Don't trivialize harassment. Harassment is not a light-hearted joke or eve teasing. It is an unwanted and abusive display of power that can undermine self-confidence in girls and women and make them feel angry and, you know, resentful. Harassing women is not a proof of your masculinity. It is wrong to harass women to prove you are a man and to feel accepted amongst your peers. Following the herd might be the right thing for sheep and goats, but standing apart from the herd of harassers will always earn you respect from people who are important to you. Now, laws that safeguard a woman in India, there are many sections described in the Indian Penal Code to safeguard women in India. Few I would like to tell you. For an example, Section 294, that is obscene acts and songs, whoever to the annoyances of others. Section 354, any man who commits to assault or use of criminal force to women with intent to outrage her modesty. Section 498A protects women who are victims of domestic violence. Section 509, uttering any word or any making any gesture intended to insult the modesty of a woman. The sexual harassment of women at the workplace, that is Act 2013, and the Dowry Prohibition Act, that is 1961. So it makes it illegal for brides, grooms, or their parents to give or accept the dowries. Legal Services Authorities Act 1987, right to maintenance, right to equal play, right to dignity and decency. So, ladies and gentlemen, this short thing which I have spoken right now, it gives a lot and lot about the women's right. So, at the end, at the conclusion, I just want to speak one thing. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies, but you may trod me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I will rise, like dust, I will rise. And this is the way each and every empowered woman, not only in India but worldwide, should protest. We are the God's creation, and I believe as an individual, each and every human being, each and every woman should fight for herself, provided if you're wrong. With this, I rest my case. Greetings, everyone, and I hope you will abide by whatever I spoke. Thank you so much for the patient hearing. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.